In this video, we are going to look at some examples of the forward converter for the learning of the analysis and the design. So, let us look at this one. The forward converter has the following parameters. Input voltage is 48 volt, resistance is 10 ohm, inductance is 0.4 millihenry, magnetizing inductance is 5 millihenry, capacitance is 100 microfarad, switching frequency is 35 kilohertz, the turn ratio is 1.5, from first winding to the second winding and from first winding to third winding it is 1, and the duty cycle is 0.4. So, we need to determine the output voltage, maximum and minimum current in the inductor and the output voltage ripple, and then we need to determine the peak current in the transformer primary winding, and we will be verifying that the magnetizing current is reset to 0 or not with these parameters at the start of each switching period, and we will assume that all components are ideal. Okay. So, we have discussed it in the last lecture in detail. If I go back and look at the circuit diagram for this converter, that is this one. Now, the parameters are given to us. The value of this inductance, capacitance, load resistance, the switching frequency over here and the turn ratio of these windings, these are given to us. And we want to analyze this circuit, and we will be seeing that either the core is being reset or not. Okay, so now coming back to the example, first of all, the output voltage can be calculated with the help of the transfer function of your forward converter, that is this one, 48.4 duty cycle, the turn ratio, so 12.8 volt will be the output. So, average current in the inductor will be same as that of your load current. So, IL will be equal to V naught by R. So, V naught is 12.8 divided by R, that is 10 ohm. So, the load current is 1.28 and same will be the current in your inductor of the buck converter side, not the magnetizing inductor. Now, change in current will be determined using the expression we derived earlier. Delta I will be equal to V naught into 1 minus D divided by L into F. So, 0.55 ampere is the change in the current. Now, what will be the average current? Now, if I sketch the waveform, let us sketch it over here, the inductor current waveform. So, when we are going to turn on the switch, the current will be increasing up to this interval, up to this time, that is dt, where d is the duty cycle, and when we are going to turn off our switch, now the current is going to decay and finally it will reach to same value from where it started at time t is equal to 0. So, this is IL minimum and this one is IL maximum, inductor current. Now, the average value will be at the center of this one, this is IL, and that will be equal to your load current. Why? Because if I go back and look at this circuit, I can explain you again. This one, the current in this loop, the current of the inductor will pass through the capacitor, high frequency current, and the low frequency current will take this loop when your switch is in the on state, and when your switch is in the off state, the high frequency current will take this path and the low frequency current will take this path. So, average current will go through your resistance, the high frequency current will pass through your capacitor. So, load average current is your inductor average current, right. So, inductor average current will be equal to your load average current. So, that is shown over here. So, how you can find out the maximum current of your inductor? If you know the average current, average load current, and then you calculate the change in the inductor current delta IL, and you divide it by 2. So this will be equal to IL, that is the average current, plus delta IL by 2, and this minimum current will be equal to IL minus delta IL by 2. So you can calculate the maximum current and the minimum current of your inductor like this. So now coming back to the point, we calculated the load voltage, then we have seen the average current in the inductor, and delta I is calculated. Now as we discussed with the waveform, the maximum inductor current will be equal to average load current plus delta IL by 2, so that will be 1.56, and the minimum current will be equal to IL plus delta IL by 2, sorry, this will be minus. So 12.8 minus 0.55 by 2, so it is 1.01. Okay. Now let's look at the current in the magnetizing inductance. So as ILM starts from 0, delta ILM is the maximum or the peak magnetizing current. So if I look at the waveform of the ILM, the current in the magnetizing inductance that we discussed in the last video, it is like this. Right, so this is the maximum current, ILM maximum value, and the minimum value is 0, because we are resetting the coil, resetting the core in the forward converter with the help of the diode D3 as we discussed in the last video. Okay, so the expression for delta ILM that was derived, that is this one. So now putting up the values, you will get this one equal to 0.11 ampere. So now the peak current in the transformer primary winding will be equal to the current because of the secondary winding, or the inductor current referred back to the primary side, and because of the magnetizing inductance. So we have calculated both of them, 1.56, that is this one, the maximum inductor current referred back to the primary side, so with this turn ratio, and the maximum magnetizing current, that is 0.11. So total current is 1.15 ampere, that will be there in your primary winding maximum current. Now as we discussed in the last video, the time for magnetizing current to return to 0 after the switch is opened is determined with the help of this equation. So 11.4 microseconds are required if you use the values from this example. So the time at which the current ILM reaches to 0 will be calculated by this equation, T naught is equal to dt plus delta Tx. So I am going to sketch that current over here. ILM is increasing like that, and then it is decreasing and going to become 0 over here. So this time is T naught, that is equal to dt, and this interval is delta Tx. So T naught is equal to dt plus delta Tx. So we have derived expression in detail. So using those expressions, we can calculate the time T naught, that comes out to be 22.8 microsecond. And if you look at the switching frequency is 35 kilohertz in this case. So for that the time comes out to be 28.6 microsecond, and this T naught as we have calculated above is 22.8 microsecond. So it means your transformer core is being reset properly, right? Okay, now let's look At this design example, we are supposed to design a forward converter such that output voltage is 5 volt and the input voltage is 170 volt. Output current is 5 ampere. Output voltage ripple must not exceed 1%. Choose the transformer, turn ratio, duty ratio and switching frequency. Choose inductance such that the current is continuous and the include ESR, equivalent series resistance of the capacitor, by considering RC is equal to 10 raised to the power minus 5 per value of the capacitance. Okay, now let's suppose that N1 by N3 is equal to 1. So this will result in the maximum duty cycle ratio of 0.5. And we arbitrarily suppose that D is equal to 0.35. So with this, if we calculate N1 by N2 using the expressions that we have already derived, so it comes out to be 11.9. So let's consider it equal to 12, rounding it off. So with this turn ratio now, let's recalculate the D. The D is equal to V naught by Vg into N1 by N2 using the transfer function of our forward converter. So the plugging in the values, you will get D equal to 0.353. So this is the exact duty cycle at which we will be operating, and to relate input and output, we need to have the turn ratio of 12 from winding 1 to the winding 2. So let's suppose that the switching frequency is 300 kilohertz and the output current is 5 ampere, and we randomly select that 40% current ripple is allowed. You can take it according to your requirement. I am just assuming it to be 40%. So if it is 40%, so I can write delta IL is equal to 0.4 into IL. So now using the expression of the inductance from our previous lecture, we can write this one in terms of frequency and considering delta IL equal to 0.4 into IL. Now plugging in the values in this expression, V naught is 5, D is 0.353, IL is 5, frequency is 300 kilohertz, so we can calculate the required inductance, that is 5.39 microhenry. And the closest standard value is 5.6 microhenry, so we will be selecting this one. There will be a very small effect. Now let's look at the output voltage ripple. 1% variation is required, so delta V naught is 0.01 of 5 volts, so it means 0.05 volt variation can be there at the output. So delta V naught, that is equal to delta V ESR, equivalent series resistance of your capacitor, that is given as delta IC into RC. So delta IC is 2 ampere. Why? Because we have considered 40% variation and our current is 5 ampere, so 40% of this one will be 2 ampere, so that's why we have considered 2 ampere over here. So this current into RC, that should be equal to 0.05 volt. So from here we can find out RC, that is equal to 0.025 ohm or 25 milli ohm. So the capacitor should have 25 milli ohm or lower ESR. So using the given RC, that is 10 raised to the power minus 5 per unit of the capacitance. So C can be calculated as 10 raised to the power minus 5 divided by RC. So that comes out to be 400 microfarad. So closest standard value is 470 microfarad. So we should use that capacitor. So this example gives you an idea that how we can design the circuit components, the inductor and the capacitor on the output side of your forward converter, and how we can select the turn ratio. Okay. Now let's look at another example. Input voltage is 50 volt. This is the number of turns in all of these windings, magnetizing inductance, switching frequency, resistance, inductance and the capacitance. Now explain why the range of the duty cycle is limited by a maximum duty cycle. So the time at which the magnetizing current reaches to 0 is determined with the help of this one, and using the values we can write it like that. And this must be less than t, the total time period. So using the values we can write it like this, simplifying it is like this, and rearranging we will get this expression. So 10 ratio n3 by n1 places an upper bound on the duty cycle ratio, right? Our duty cycle should be less than this value. So over here n3 by n1 is important. This will apply the limit. What should be our duty cycle? So now if we calculate it for this example, this comes out to be 0.5, because n3 over n1 will be equal to 1 as all the turns are equal. So as all the turns are equal, for that the maximum duty cycle is 0.5. So n3 over n1 is important because it limits the duty cycle. Maximum duty cycle we can apply in our circuit, by which we can control our switch. Next is the calculate the minimum duty cycle for which the current of the inductor is continuous. So the current for the inductor L is given as the minimum current equation, and delta IL is given by this equation. Please refer to the last video. So for continuous operation, this minimum current should be greater than 0, the minimum current of your inductor. So it means the inductor current should be greater than IL by 2 to have the continuous current. So now just plugging in the values and rearranging the things, you can see all the steps over here. We can find out the expression for D. The D must be greater than this one. So plugging in the value, D comes out to be 0.75. Okay, if our duty cycle is greater than 0.75, our inductor current will be continuous. But we have seen that if we take n3 by n1 equal to 1, so D max comes out to be 0.5. Our duty cycle cannot be more than 0.5. But for continuous inductor current, it is coming out to be 0.75. It means the minimum duty cycle should be 0.75. It means we cannot operate our converter like that. This converter is not operatable for the continuous conduction mode of your inductor, because the minimum duty cycle for the continuous operation is greater than the maximum duty cycle that is allowed by the turn ratio. So what we will have to do? We will have to bring certain change such that our D max goes above 0.75, and that depends upon the turn ratio of your transformer. So we will change this one, n3 by n1, 1 by 1 plus n3 by n1 should be greater than 0.75, and if we simplify it, n3 comes out to be 26.27. It means n3 should be equal to 27. So if I go back and look at the statement, all of these were equal, but if we now make n3 equal to 27, right, we can operate our converter in the continuous conduction mode. Means there will be a continuous current in the inductor L3, inductor on the output side. Okay, so these examples will help you to further understand the forward converter, but you must see the video in which we have discussed all of these expressions in detail. Thank you very much.